Sometimes, the loudest cries for help are the ones we never hear. They hide behind smiles, behind the gentle rhythm of an ordinary day, waiting for someone, anyone, to notice that Sunday afternoon in Willow Creek was like any other. Sunlight streamed through the supermarket windows, warming the polished tiles. Families laughed, carts rattled, and life moved with the unhurried rhythm of small-town peace. Nobody saw it coming, the story that would ripple across hearts long after the aisles went quiet. Amid the crowd, a little girl in a bright pink dress walked beside a man much larger than her. To anyone else, they looked like a father and daughter, an everyday sight. But to those who truly looked, there was something wrong. Her small hand didn't swing with carefree rhythm, it hung stiff, her fingers trembling. Her eyes, wide, glassy, and haunted, weren't the eyes of a child running errands. They were the eyes of someone silently screaming behind a wall of fear. It was in that silence that one man's awareness turned a tragedy into a miracle. A moment of instinct. A gesture most would miss. A heartbeat that decided the difference between safety and sorrow. If you believe that small actions can save lives, stay, because what happened next proves that heroism isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as quiet as a man recognizing a signal most would never see. It all began on that quiet Sunday afternoon in Willow Creek, the kind of town where everyone knew everyone, and the biggest news was usually a bake sale or a high school football score. The supermarket buzzed softly with life. The sound of conversation, the hum of refrigerators, the clink of carts meeting corners, all ordinary sounds on an ordinary day. Officer Daniel Hayes had almost decided to skip the store that afternoon. He'd been off duty, wearing jeans and a worn leather jacket, just a father trying to pick up cereal for his kids before heading home. 15 years on the force had hardened him to chaos, but never to kindness. He believed, perhaps stubbornly, that awareness was its own kind of armor for the world. As he turned down aisle 6, he noticed movement at the edge of his vision. A little girl, no more than 7, wearing a bright pink dress with a small bow in her hair. Her hand was tucked into that of a man, tall, scruffy, tattooed, with tired eyes and a cracked watch that caught the light every time he turned. Nothing about them screamed wrong. But something felt wrong. Then Daniel saw it. A small motion, quick as a breath. The girl lifted her hand, palm open, thumb tucked across the palm, fingers closing over it. "Help me." The gesture was subtle, nearly invisible, but unmistakable to someone who knew. Daniel had learned it months earlier during a child rescue awareness seminar. The silent distress signal, created for moments when victims couldn't speak without endangering themselves. Most people wouldn't have noticed. But Daniel did. His pulse quickened. He forced himself to breathe evenly. A single misstep, a single show of panic, could send that man running with the child before backup could even arrive. He turned his attention back to the shelves, pretending to scan for cereal. Then, in a calm voice through his discreet earpiece, he murmured, "Dispatch, this is Hayes. Possible abduction in progress. Supermarket on Willow Creek, Maine. Male suspect, mid-30s, tattoos left arm. Little girl, pink dress. Signal for help confirmed." He continued his act, a shopper lost in thought, while his eyes tracked every move they made. The man's grip was tight. Possessive. The girl's shoulders slumped with the weary obedience of someone who had learned not to resist. They passed through aisles, frozen goods, produce, dairy, heading steadily toward the side exit that rarely saw customers. Daniel followed, just close enough to intercept but far enough not to alarm. Every second felt stretched thin. His instincts, honed by years on the job, told him the man was becoming aware of being watched. The suspect's pace quickened, his head flicking around every few steps. The girl stumbled once, and his grip tightened further. Daniel clenched his jaw. He couldn't wait. He slipped around a corner and approached from an angle, just as the man reached the end of the aisle near the heavy emergency door. One push, and they'd vanish into the parking lot, into a car, into the unknown. "Sir," Daniel called, his voice steady, firm, controlled. Police. I need to ask you a few questions. The man froze, the air thickened with tension, the girl's wide eyes darted between them, her chest rising in shallow breaths. The man's expression shifted from confusion to calculation, then to something colder. "This is my daughter," he said quickly, his voice defensive, almost rehearsed. "We're just shopping." Daniel didn't blink. "Then you won't mind showing me some ID?" Seconds stretched. The man's hand twitched. Daniel's stance shifted subtly, weight balanced, ready for anything. Then, movement. The man yanked the girl, trying to bolt for the door. Daniel reacted faster. His training kicked in. He lunged forward, grabbing the man's arm, forcing him down with practiced precision. The girl stumbled free, falling to the floor, her small palms scraping against the tile. "Stay still." Daniel commanded, voice sharp, authoritative. The suspect struggled, shouting curses, but the sound of sirens cut through the air before he could make another move. Backup swarmed through the entrance, officers surrounding them in seconds. The girl was gently pulled aside by a young female officer, her voice soft and steady as she wrapped the child in a warm blanket from the patrol car. Daniel knelt beside her. "You're safe now, sweetheart," he said quietly, his voice breaking the tension that hung thick in the air. The girl looked at him for a long moment, as if trying to understand the words. Then, slowly, she reached forward and clung to him. Silent tears traced down her cheeks, soaking into his jacket. For the first time that day, Daniel allowed himself to breathe. Later, when the suspect was taken into custody, the truth came out that he wasn't her father. Not even close. The girl had been taken from a playground 2 towns over 3 days earlier. Her parents had plastered her photo across social media, begged on television, and prayed through sleepless nights. She'd been missing long enough for hope to begin to die, until that single moment, until that single signal, until one man noticed. The following day, Daniel visited the girl's family. When her mother opened the door, she collapsed against him in tears, whispering thank yous between sobs. The father, silent and pale, gripped Daniel's hand so tightly it trembled. From behind them, a small face peeked out, the little girl in the pink dress, clutching a stuffed bunny to her chest. She met Daniel's eyes and smiled, not a forced smile, not the guarded stare from the store, but a real one. A child's smile. That single smile undid him more than anything else. Before he left, her mother said, "You didn't just save her, Officer Hayes. You saved us." Daniel simply nodded, too moved for words. As he drove home, the world outside seemed softer somehow, the same streets, the same sky, but changed. Because now he understood, more than ever, how fragile safety really is, and how awareness could build it back again. Ending the story of the little girl in the pink dress spread across Willow Creek like wildfire. It became a reminder, whispered between neighbors, shared in schools, retold on local radio stations. Pay attention. Learn the signs. Someone's life might depend on it, and for Daniel Hayes, it wasn't just another case solved, it was proof that the smallest signals could echo the loudest truths. So, if this story reached you, remember, kindness begins with noticing. Point 1 Look. 1 gesture. 1 moment of awareness. That's all it takes to change a life forever.